Hello again. Like so many people, I feel that this country is now full to the gunnels and that there is little room left for any other large influx of immigrants. The present government, however, has other ideas, and in addition to loosening up the requirement for visas for Indians seeking to move to Britain, as a sweetener in a trade deal which Britain is keen to cement with India, there is the small matter of the Hong Kong Chinese. I say small matter, but in fact it's a very large matter indeed. According to the government, and I provide a link to the relevant report from the House of Commons Library, around 3 million Chinese people in Hong Kong now hold British national overseas passports, and all of them are entitled to come to Britain at once and live and work in this country for 5 years initially, and then to obtain the right to remain here forever. It is estimated that these people have between them 2.5 million dependent relatives who are also allowed to come to Britain on the same terms. That makes 5.5 million people from Hong Kong who can turn up in this country whenever they feel like it. There was no earthly reason why the government should have arranged for this to happen. In 2020, these people did not have the right to come and settle in Britain. Then, on January the 31st, 2021, just under a year ago, the Hong Kong British National Overseas Visa Scheme was launched, and hey presto, that was it. This makes a complete nonsense of the pledges made by the British government to be strict on immigration. But perhaps the numbers likely to come to this country are really low. They are not. In the last year, 100,000 applications have been made to come to Britain, and the number is likely to accelerate rapidly as the Chinese flex their muscles by cracking down on democracy in Hong Kong and threatening to invade Taiwan. The government estimate, which may be seen in the link which I provide in the description to this video, says that between 258,000 and 322,400 people are thought likely to arrive in the next 5 years from Hong Kong. Even at the lower end of that estimate, this would mean 1,000 people a week landing here from Hong Kong. Yes, that's right, an extra 1,000 people a week, every single week for the next 5 years. Of course, as I'm sure we all know, such government projections tend to be, well, to put it politely, conservative, but to put it another way, absurdly low. And there's no reason why this one should be any different. If 5.5 million people have been given the right to come here, and the situation in China, Hong Kong and Taiwan become unstable and dangerous, it is a racing certainty that it will do so in the next few years, then I'm guessing that all those people will ultimately fetch up here. I would not have it thought that I have any kind of prejudice against Chinese people, by the way. Quite the opposite. I would rather live next door to Chinese people than any ethnicity that I can think of, because I have never in my whole life found any Chinese people to be antisocial, noisy, dirty, untidy or impolite. In many ways they make model citizens. The fact is, though, there is simply not room for so many people in this country. Britain's cities are more crowded than most people realise. Hong Kong is famously crowded and believed by some to be one of the most densely populated spots on Earth. There are an amazing 6,438 people crammed into every square kilometre of Hong Kong, which is an awful lot. It is nothing, though, compared to parts of London. In the London borough of Kensington and Chelsea, for instance, 13,244 people live in every square kilometre. It is more than twice as crowded as Hong Kong. Just reflect upon that for a moment. I wonder how many of you knew that Kensington and Chelsea were twice as densely populated as Hong Kong. It's not something most of us think about very often. This country of ours simply cannot endure 1,000 people of any ethnicity arriving every week. We are building at a frantic rate but cannot keep up with the rate of immigration. Where I live in the Epping Forest District, every scrap of land is being built on, and the area is far more crowded with houses and flats than it was when I moved here 20 years ago. Other places on the edge of London are in a similar position, and in London itself, tower blocks are springing up like mushrooms everywhere. It really is time to say enough is enough.